Russkие, вернулись. The Russians are back. This has become the customary greeting for our troops in the democratic Pacific states, where they have been deployed now for the third time in this ongoing struggle. Negotiations between Huey Long and Wendell Willkie have, as expected, broken down, mostly under German pressure for the Union state to leverage the support of the Reichspakt, both economic and military, to create a large ultranationalist state with limitless resources, especially precious oil and metal reserves, that would secure the position of the German Empire in the unipolar world. Faced with rising powers in Europe and Asia, increasingly independent former colonies, German diplomats did not see an alternative than to push for a final battle for the control over North America. Yet, even before the arrival of 4 additional tank divisions under General Stefan, Pacific States troops, motivated by the victory over the syndicates, have already launched offensives along the lines of contact. Still, our arrival has been widely celebrated by soldiers and civilians alike. We are back in the PSA, as they say, and this time we've brought planes, although the planes I think are still on the move, but we are actually now deploying the Imperial Russian Air Force for missions in the skies across the world, and that is going to potentially put a bit of a dent into our fighter stocks. But for now, it seems that production can keep up with it, and we will be introducing new models into the air soon. Around the world, we're fighting on multiple fronts. In Italy, we are getting ready for a potential assault. They have massively reinforced the positions again. A potential counterattack or assault in any direction really that is feasible, but the Italian front is static and costly in the overall term. Let's have a very quick look at the Italian Civil War, Italian War of Unification. So far, the Allies have lost almost 1 million troops compared to 500,000 troops lost on the socialist side. This does not include foreign divisions like the Reichspakt divisions or anything else that is fighting on the other side. So we'll defend here, but other than that, not an awful lot. There is yet another naval invasion. The Japanese have landed in Tangshan. So once again, we are going to have to move the troops off and defeat this landing. There is no port here, however, but they are probably attempting a simultaneous landing in Tianjin in order to cut open the relatively static front lines. So we'll rush the mountain divisions under Casagrande to wipe out the Japanese incursion once more. These landing attempts are costly for the Japanese, however. So all in all, this is going to increase their losses. Let's have a quick look at the Second Sino-Japanese War. The Japanese casualties are certainly ticking up. But once again, we're seeing a KD ratio of 2-to-1 from the Chinese side, which is not sustainable, really. So we will see where that goes. Back in the Middle East, the Russians are once again on the move, and we are pushing towards Mosul and Adana on the Mediterranean coast, expanding the Syrian-controlled area significantly, while Persia has taken over most of the Arabian lands in the desert. So that's that front, and in the States, the tanks are still rushing towards the front lines in order to begin the push towards Baton Rouge, see if we can break the enemy capital and then move along the south, rather than trying our luck in the probably relatively static northern front lines in the mountains. We do have enough political power for a industrial concern or for the military high command. Specifically, we do need a chief of air force. I think that is probably the next one we're going to have to do. I would love to have an industrial concern, but the petroleum company is not that interesting. There is one here which gives an additional rubber for synthetic refineries, which would be quite neat, and a few which are actually quite general in their research and everything else. So this would be nice, but we also do need a chief of air force, and we still need the cabinet up to speed. So there are a few people we potentially have. We could get Sikorsky to reduce the production cost for fighters, which is probably not a bad thing. We have the Red Countess, Sofia Panina, who would be giving us some research speed. A women's organizer, probably not necessarily needing that. And the Minister of Everything for 10% factory output would be quite good as well. Construction speed and research speed would be neat. And we got potentially stability, political power, and compliance. Compliance, not really. But one that I'm really fascinated by is Fundaminsky, the spiritual Democrat, because he gives an 8% defense bonus against major countries. So that obviously would be a valuable person to have in the government come wartime. So we'll keep a slot open for him. But I think Chief of Air Force is what we're going to be doing, and I am thinking of Lapshinsky for the 10% air superiority, or Kazakov for the mission efficiency modifier. For especially in the early days, this might be quite useful. And then we still have to actually fill the cabinet as well. So many more things to do. Anyway, let's get to it then, shall we? The troops pushing forward in Baghdad potentially have and I think we'll be moving along the lines here. Have the opportunity to connect at Deir ez-Zor and cut off 2 German divisions that have been. We've got the 25th Großherzogliche Infantry, and we've got another German division that we're not particularly sure about. They are getting pushed back, but we will try to work our way along the left river bank and see if we can trap and defeat these divisions in totality. So that would be good. We're making our way through towards Adana, and that means the Pacific Volunteers still need to get into position. And that means the Chinese front is what we're probably going to be looking at first. It looks like the 23rd might be holding out in Tianjin. We have trapped 3 Japanese divisions, which are now having nowhere to go. So I think we can probably defeat this beachhead before additional troops actually make their way on the ground. We'll just have to keep an eye on things and make sure that nothing catastrophically breaks there. But we're getting counterattacked from the north now. Obviously, they are trying to save their friendly troops here. But I think we can defeat that counterattack without too much trouble, because the 13th is already exhausted. Nope, they've reinforced potentially. Let's see if we can manage to both defeat the counterattack from the north and break through the 3rd Cavalry that is holding the lines here. And that works out. So back to China. Okay, in China we have pushed the Japanese out of Tangshan. We've liberated the city once more, and that means the troops can return. The first cavalry from the Jing government has taken position, so that line is secured. Japanese naval invasion has been defeated. Again, great losses on the Japanese side. So these losses really will keep mounting if they force these kind of attempts at landing behind friendly lines without much success. All right, Persian front, where we have defeated the counterattack from the north and are making our way through, but now probably need to we'll hold will hold position against the attempts from the Ottoman troops in the north to counterattack us here. And then the 70th is going to lead the assault against the second mountain with some support from the 73rd. There we go. And with that, once we have the Guards troops here engaged, and we can get the 74th in as well. They have gotten reinforcements from the north, the 13th that had been earlier defeated. We have Persian troops here now in place that can hold the line for us, so we can move the 74th forward. We have taken the port of Adana, and there is very little opposition here. I am wary of, however, of expanding much further without sufficient troops to defend, to hold the lines here, to be honest. But we can probably take a few more strategic objectives because the roads are pretty much open. So let's take the port at Mersin as well. And with that, I think we can simply shorten the front lines here. And then these divisions can stay. I will send the 68th over to secure the port. And we'll probably we'll use the 75th to push the 7th Cavalry, Ottoman Cavalry, out of the mountain positions to expand the lines and to make sure that we're safe from potential counterattacks. And with that, we can actually also potentially expand north here. Let's secure a bit more territory. Meanwhile, the assault has resumed against the enemy troops there. We're quite far. We're quite out of range, really, for our fighters. But the mere fact that they can buzz and strafe enemy troops at the edge of their range means that we are probably in the position now to close the trap on the Germans. But we do have to look back at the Pacific State situation where the tanks are in place now. So now we just have to wait for them to organize themselves. But I think with the 30th Old Hickory in relatively bad shape after battles with the Californian militia, we may actually send 3 tank divisions already to force the river crossing and use that opportunity while the 6th is still recovering. Okay, no further Japanese incursions behind the lines, which means the planning once again happens here, and we may have another attempt at trying to secure the lines here if it comes to that. There is an assault going up northwards, but that is a fool's errand, I would almost say. Because these troops are probably dug in, we are going to plan that a little more, and we're not throwing our men into positions willy-nilly. All right, so this is the most critical front at this point. Can we break through the positions there? We're getting the 74th to reinforce and the 73rd to assist. The Germans are trying to break out now, so I think, can we get the, okay, there we go. I think the Germans are trying to break out, but they're being held in place by the Syrian rebels, which in an unusually coordinated manner are actually assisting in this operation. So we'll get 3 Guards divisions engaged. And with that, we should be able to dig the enemy out of these relatively exhausted desert positions here. And okay, things are stable. Just double checking, things are stable in China. The assault against the lone Sicilian division has not managed to break through. But these troops are looking relatively weak in the north. Let's see if we can. Launch an assault here, and if that is promising against, and we'll throw the other division in as well. Against that might work, because most of these troops are, especially the 53rd, are relatively exhausted. So if we can push them out from their mountain positions, here we go. The French have been pushed back. that might be enough to break them here. Let's see if this ends up being successful. We've got all three mountain divisions now engaged, and we should definitely start using barrages more when we come to it. Right, Pacific States, we're almost across the river, and we can now throw the 6th into the assault as well. And from there on, we have clear going towards Baton Rouge. So we're going to get the 6th to continue south, and once we have closed the trap, then we'll take New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Ethiopia has declared war on Somalia. We'll leave the African states to their devices, really. I think the friendly troops have been slightly pushed back near Washington, but they're already retaking lost ground. So, and they're making progress everywhere along the lines. So that's good. In Egypt, we are, I think, at this point, the Ottomans are starting to bring reinforcements in. So I think at this point we'll dig in here for now, secure the lines, and then find another front. But we have managed to break through, which means that the enemy troops, we've got 5 divisions, including 2 German divisions, that have been trapped. Now we are going to need to reorganize the lines here a little bit. Okay, and with that we've got the 73rd Guards to relieve the embattled 70th, while the 74th is already launching an assault across the river line against the 16th Ottoman infantry, which is going to be running, it's running very low on supply already. So that should work. The 70th should be able to get supply out of their Azor eventually, once we've secured everything here and defeated the counterattack, but we'll be eradicating these divisions here. In the Chinese region, we are heavily engaged in an air war against the Japanese forces, and so far we are prevailing. So it looks like the I-170s, which are the majority of our air force here, are I have them on daytime, so that during nighttime they're not flying, but they are doing well against the Japanese in the air. In Italy is where the heaviest air battles are going on. So even there against German planes or potentially delivered German planes on the syndicalist side, more likely French and British planes, we are holding our own here. So that is working reasonably well. All right, China, we don't need to look. Persia we do. I want to see the okay, they're trying to break out from the south. So the 5th Königlich Sächsische that has been trapped is running an assault north, but that has failed, and with that the 70th can dig in. They will be reinforced by the 73rd. In fact, we might not even need to do that. We get the 73rd south to break the Ottoman line here, and then we'll clean up the encircled German divisions. Troops here are holding, just holding the gains, and we're waiting for Egyptian troops to consolidate the lines there as well. That means in the Papal States, we are actually only facing a single Italian division left at this point. Make that 2 division. The 53rd is back for another beating. But I think we can actually break them here and consolidate the front lines a bit and push them back forward. All right, construction 4 is completed. I think we rushed that, did we? That was ahead of time, but we've rushed that through. So with that, I think we can. Unfortunately, I mistimed this, the 100% bonus. I was planning to use it on as an ahead of time, but we'll simply use it here just to shorten the period of things. Right, we have enough for a theorist or a chief of air force. I am kind of tempted to get Golovin as the theorist, because that is going to reduce the land doctrine cost. We are pretty far ahead on the regular land doctrine, but I'm not sure if that applies to this one, to the special forces doctrines as well, because we do need the mountaineer doctrines to move up, because they are our main special forces. So that would be an interesting one to do that. Alternatively, we could get Kazakov for air superiority and for air experience gain as well, although the air experience is usually not an issue. Or we could throw. So if we're going to put this spiritual democrat in, we've got one more slot, and that's 15% consumer goods factories. That would be kind of nice, but we are relatively good already on consumer goods factories. I've been more interested in there was one with research speed, I believe. 10% factory output, that is pretty good as well. So that would be the Minister of Everything, Construction Speed and Factory Output, Kondratiev, yes. We'll put him in place because it is across the bank going to allow us to get more troops out. And that actually reminds me, we do need to finish up the divisions here. So the regular infantry division, which is just going to be line, they do need the field hospitals, because we do want to minimize the amount of losses that we're taking. That is going to cost us 1,000 trucks, which we have. And they do need line artillery as well. So that is going to be a fair amount of support equipment. I just want to make sure we have the logistics as an overview. So that's going to be the default infantry. So we'll save that. Then we have, do we still need to do anything here? I think, no, mountain troops are in a good place. We haven't done anything with Marines, which leaves me with the Guards infantry. I think I would love the Guards infantry to have another artillery. Actually, I would like them to I will not do that. I would like them to eventually have the armored artillery, so we'll do that later. All right. That means once things take over, we've got shortages in support equipment and artillery. That is going to take 170 days. That's going to take 88 days, and an AA is going to take 150 days. And that is going to take 300 days. So the flame tanks are a bit more of a concern. We've got 10 factories applied to it right now. But hopefully, with the additional factory output, we can start producing these a little bit quicker. In terms of research, we've got another one coming off relatively soon. How far are we away? Yeah, this actually we do need to research the next tank as well. We've got the advanced flamethrower, but that's I think for the super heavies. So I do want to make some progress here. So that is going to be necessary. Focus next up after things. All right, back to the front lines. China is clear, and we are actually suppressing the Japanese relatively effectively here. Mission efficiency isn't great. Air detection is abysmal. Talking about air detection. Sorry for the quick sideline. I've actually queued up construction of radar stations along the front line, at least in the European theater, to give our Air Force a fighting chance against the enemy. All right. States, Pacific states. Have we broken through? Yes, we have. So now we do need to shorten the front lines and make sure that the tanks don't, because we want the we want the divisions to not move off. Instead, we are going to push forward, and we are going to send. Okay, the enemy is retreating towards Jackson in the north, so we'll send one tank division out to take the territory there. All right, and that should complete the encirclement of Baton Rouge relatively quickly. In Sicily, we are making progress here. It's just but they keep reinforcing, but we keep pushing them out because they are relatively exhausted. So I think we have actually almost broken through their lines near Terni. This is not a strategic position. This is just to secure the front line. We are going to lose the position in the north, so that gives us a bit of a better angle here, potentially against breaking out of Rome here from these positions. The problem is obviously the river line. So for now, we are going to concentrate here and stay in position and just defend against the inevitable counterattack. But that has been a successful, I think, one of the first successful operations, and we can potentially even push towards Terni. Is that giving us anything in terms of supply? It is not. The key would be to move across, or we might be counterattacking north of the port. That might be also, if we can launch a counterattack north of the port, that might be an interesting opportunity, and see if we can get across the river actually and encircle the enemy troops here. Because we are going to lose this position. The papal troops are not going to be able to hold it, most likely. So that's that. Right, Persia. We are about to collapse the cauldron here and destroy the enemy positions. That should take care of the German support, and then we can swing north towards Mosul and make our way towards collapsing the salient, and further reducing the Ottoman impact that we have there. All right, Pacific states. We have cut off and encircled Baton Rouge, which means we can now launch the assault from multiple sides against the enemy capital, and then clear out enemy positions there. We have taken the port. We're close to Mobile, and I think again, I don't want to necessarily overextend ourselves here, but I think we'll once we've cleared out here, we might extend the lines almost all the way to Tallahassee, cut off the enemy rear, and see if we can or push north eventually towards Nashville. But they will have to move troops off the front lines, so that's going to be working relatively well. Okay, breaking through here, keeping an eye on Sicily, because here we do need to defend against a spirited counterattack from the enemy. But on the defense, our mountain divisions are going to be holding relatively well, and especially their experience from this long war means that we now have a potential. We've got 3 Papal State divisions. We now have a potential to launch an assault of our own and see if we can breach the lines here against the weakened enemy divisions. How is the Russian Air Force doing? Oh, the Russian Air Force is doing relatively well. We are disrupting enemy bombing attempts, and that supports the troops on the ground in any kind of offensive operation. I think we said, that must have not reinforced in time. All right, into the breach in Baton Rouge, and see if we can reinforce these divisions before the assault here falters. Persia, no, Italy. Okay, Italy is the critical one. Let's see if we can manage to break, to keep the momentum and to break through. It'd be great to have some support from friendly troops here. These Austrians, maybe. And the Sicilian troops have jumped into the fray where the papal forces have given up. The Sicilians have jumped into the fray, and I think we can. There's 1 division left. I think we can manage to get across and finally break the position north of the river, and maybe start opening up this whole trench warfare business. On the development of the German military in 1936 to 1939 in relation to Russian national security interests, composed by General Pavel Nikolaevich Shatilov, and the 5th Department of the General Chief of Staff of the War Ministry. Synopsis. The German military is the main point of comparison we refer to when evaluating the ability of the Russian army to project power in Europe. Based on the 1935 evaluation of the Russian and German armies, it seemed like that the German armies would suffer from multiple organizational and material challenges should the war have happened at that point. However, the German General Staff has woken up to this threat after the global upheaval of 1936. The German army has increased its numbers greatly after 1936, especially in terms of armored vehicles and bombing aircraft. Organizational reforms of the German army are specifically geared towards increasing the fighting ability of the Heer in a possible future conflict. Based on the calculations by the 5th Department, the German military advantage compared to the Russian army and to their other potential enemy, the French army, is growing rapidly. Our intelligence has acquired reasonable evidence that the German military political leadership is actively pursuing offensive military planning, chiefly Fall Scharnhorst, the case Scharnhorst, an invasion of France, as a means to secure Germany's western flank in a potential war against Russia. Thus, the War Ministry recommends the immediate preparation of a preemptive operation against any German attempts to drastically change the military strategic status quo of Europe within the next year. If such operations are not undertaken, Germany's military supremacy on the European continent will become impossible to challenge by only the Russian army. So we can keep that private, or we can publish that. So that would give that would obviously give the Germans some insights into what's going on. The German Empire would be outraged, but I think the question here is a domestic one. How prepared are we with the population in terms of a war of liberation against the Eastern European states? Because if we keep this private, then the eventual outbreak of hostilities might be construed by the enemy as an offensive war from the Russian Federation, from the Russian Empire. Whereas if we publish this, that we are effectively preempting a German-led aggression against Russia, then this gives us a much better standing in public. So this is what we shall do. This gives the Germans obviously some insights into our plans, but the report has been published, and the German troops at this point are also being destroyed in two German divisions, the 25th Großherzoglich Hessische Infanteriedivision and the 5th Königlich Sächsische Infanteriedivision are being obliterated in south of Deir ez-Zor. And with that, I think most of the German support for their old ally, the Ottomans, is collapsing. So, and significant forces on the Egyptian side are now taking up the lines as well, which means we can probably relocate since we're holding Antep now, we can probably relocate our troops eastwards. So let me quickly organize that. Okay, we'll leave further fighting to the Egyptians, and we will relocate the expeditionary force eastwards in order to assist with closing the cauldron, and taking Mosul for friendly forces. But these losses for the Germans are going to be painful. In the Pacific, we are closing in on Baton Rouge. The tanks are now engaged. It's swampy territory, but fortunately our light tanks are relatively capable of these sort of things. So that gives them a bit of an advantage. And here we are fully planned. We may actually have an opportunity to jump in on the assault against the Japanese positions. There's only 3 divisions here. See if we can get the mountain troops engaged with the enemy. The enemy no longer enjoys aerial superiority, which is countering which is countering some of their defensive works here, which might assist with the assaults, really. All right, the German troops have been defeated. All in all, about 15,000 Germans have been taken captive. And with that, we can change the front line here as well, because we don't want to operate out of Deir ez-Zor, because we're not getting supply from over there, I think. Yeah, we're relying on supply from Baghdad. So we'll return to the Baghdad railway and get all divisions positioned there. And then from there on out, we will return to the offensive against Mosul while the other troops are relocating. All right, Chinese troops. Okay, we need to check Italy as well. We are fighting. We are fighting at the edge of our capabilities against the 17th, but we might be. I think we might have beaten them. So if the exhausted mountaineers can make it across the river before reinforcements arrive, and then dig in there. Yes, there we go. Now the question is, can we defeat the inevitable counterattack? Because now enemy troops are cut off. Now they are getting supply from this via the sea routes, but if we can maintain this position for long enough, then we can potentially eradicate 3 enemy divisions here and have a bit of an opening on the front lines. All right, China, we're fully engaged now, and we may be able to break this position with the goal of cutting off the Japanese. In Egypt, troops are moving. That leads me to the Pacific states, where fighting is still going on. All right, so Sicily is kind of the critical one at this point. I am going to eradicate these positions for now, and a new front line. The 60th has had to retreat, but we are going to be able to we still have 2 divisions in the field, and your orders are for now to just hold the line and to dig in, defend against enemy counterattacks that are going to be incessant, and prepare for the collapse of the encircled enemy divisions in the south. All right, China. Slow going in China, but it looks like one of the Fengtian divisions might be broken out relatively soon. Friendly troops have retaken Jackson, and Baton Rouge has fallen. Russian forces have been pushing towards the city of Baton Rouge for a while now. Reports are now coming in of the city's imminent capture by advancing troops. Yue Pierce Long's current whereabouts are unknown, but it is believed he was rapidly evacuated to the countryside. Reports indicated that military police have begun rounding up and arresting Minutemen and important union leaders, and that many fires are spreading unchecked through the city's high-rise districts while Pacific forces struggle to establish order. That means they are going to have to relocate their capital, and we'll see how far we actually are in the Pacific Union War. Yeah, that has made a dent. They're nowhere close to capitulating yet, of course, but we've got a few trapped regular divisions here that we can cut off, and the enemy is in trouble also supply-wise. And with Jackson held, that leads to interesting opportunities. Right, 95 millimeter artillery. 95 millimeter anti-tank has been researched. And yeah, we are a bit behind here, so that said, I do need the tank research to happen. So let's get that underway. Tank research is underway, and we are back probably. I don't really need. Okay, we're actually pushing towards Mosul already, so we have to extend the front line here and get the divisions to move north. Actually. Other troops are still moving into position here, which leads us probably to Sicily for now. All right, Sicily is the desperate defense. So right now we've got the glorious 60th and 64th divisions now also joined by more friendly troops. They're going to be starting to dig in for now. And yeah, we've got 2 papal divisions now helping to secure the front lines. And with that, the Russians can rest and focus on the defense, while the friendly troops are clearing out the enemies near north of Rome. In China, one of the Fengtian divisions is probably going to be broken out of that position relatively soon. So that means potential advances even in China. The Russian Air Force is what makes all the difference here. Tanks are getting a little. The tanks are about to take New Orleans, but are getting a little. The troops are getting somewhat exhausted here, so we will probably stop the assault in New Orleans once we've taken it. Swampy territory is taking a toll on our armored operations. China still advancing. And Sicily is holding at this point, despite furious enemy counterattacks. The dug-in mountain divisions are going to be able to hold that, I think. All right. Once we've taken New Orleans, New Orleans is about to fall. Then we will leave this to the infantry and get the tank divisions to rest and recover. Almost there. The 6th had to fall back, but in the end, Russian tanks have prevailed, and yeah, we will stop the assault here, and we'll leave 2 divisions on it. The rest can redeploy east. I think we may be able to push out of Jackson. Let's see what the supply. From here we might be able to just push north out of Jackson, maybe, and collapse the cauldron here. That is probably actually the better use of our forces. So let's redeploy north towards Jackson, while the 6th and 7th are actually the 6th is redeploying, and the 1st and the 7th are going in. All right. It looks like the Ottomans have capitulated. Oh yeah, that seems to have. The Ottomans have capitulated. Deals have been signed between Persia, Egypt, and the Ottoman Empire. And with that, the war here, I believe, is it over, or is it? Are we still having? Are we still in there? Now, Jabal Shammar has capitulated, so that should be over. Interestingly enough, our troops that are in support of Egypt are still in theater. So we will see what's going to happen here. But for now, so that's Jabal Shammar has been reconstituted in certain territories. Persia has taken over most of the core territory in the desert. Kurdistan has their own region now, and the Arab Kingdom of Syria has been established all the way north up to Aleppo and even further. So Jerusalem currently under Syrian occupation, and we will see how that ends up. Working out for everybody. All right, so that might actually end our involvement here. Let's see. All right, Pacific states, not much happening. China, slow progress. Let's stay on China then and see if that goes. We have a decision actually available. Oh yeah, we can invite Persia. Yes, we can now invite Persia to become part of the Moscow Accord. And I think that is something we're definitely going to be doing, because that secures our southern borders significantly, and gives us a strong position in the Middle East. So we shall invite the Persians to the Moscow Accord. Currently, they are part of the Tabriz Accord. So we will see. We will see what comes of that. But. All right, let's look at China, where we're now working to dig out the 2nd Fengtian division. but it looks like they might be sending in reinforcements from the north. So yeah, they do send they do send in reinforcements, unfortunately, faster than we can eliminate the enemy troops here. So we're just not quick enough in digging them out from their positions. So I think I will abort this attempt, stop wasting Russian lives. And yeah, okay, so all the volunteers are returning from Persia now, which means also the aircraft. And that means we are making progress in the world, really. I have to reorder my shortcuts very quickly. And we're back, where I think these divisions still need a bit more reconstituting, honestly. But soon we can deal with the encircled troops here. First Tank Division has arrived in Jackson, and that means we're just holding the lines here, and we can now also help clearing out the last enemy troops in the port here. And with that, yeah, these divisions are encircled, so they're not going anywhere. The entire series of events started when a Belarusian farmer informed the police of a wreck of an aircraft that had fallen into his fields in the small village of Svecha, some 60 kilometers west from Vitebsk, so right at the front lines. When the police arrived at the scene, what was initially thought to be a civilian accident turned out to be a Russian scout plane. The plane was largely burned and its camera was removed. There was no sign of the pilot, though a manhunt was started in the entire district. What was left of the plane was quickly delivered to the Borovka Air Base for further examination. Despite the pilot's attempt to destroy the machine, aviation engineers managed to identify the plane as a little-known Kamov gyroplane, primarily equipped for aerial photographing. It seemed probable that it had been photographing the important bridge of Svecha, which lies on the route from Vitebsk to Minsk. Evidence of this level of Russian war planning against Germany's eastern allies is alarming on entirely new levels, as many have believed that Russia would not dare to try their luck with Germany once again. Germany has promised to deploy additional air escadres to Belarus, and the military readiness of the eastern allies has been increased. That definitely has been unfortunate that things have not quite worked there as we had planned, but additional troops are indeed arriving, and we're still waiting for equipment, especially anti-air equipment, to be manufactured for further deployments of troops. But we will get there eventually. All right, in Sicily, we are dealing with the last encircled divisions here, while the 34th is holding the line. In the Pacific states, we can now start sending the first armored, and I think, we'll send both divisions in. These troops should, these troops are encircled. They have nowhere to go. So once the armored divisions are going to join, then they can assist in clearing out enemy positions, counterattacks, and news from the Middle East. The Kingdom of Egypt, who we have helped in the War of Liberation against the Ottoman Empire, has declared war on Persia. That is less than fortunate, because we thought that this would finally create peace in the Middle East, although peace in the Middle East is always a difficult proposal. But since we've invited the Persians to join the Moscow Accord, we're going to have to wait and see what the what the eventual decision is going to be. We have additional amounts of trouble. We have additional amounts of trouble in that position. Well, we'll leave them to it for now, and focus on the situation on the ground in other theaters, where we now have a strategic opportunity potentially. The Eastern Front is completely blocked, but our action again of the glorious 64th and at this point also the 34th Mountain, have led to an opening on the enemy front lines. Now the question is, where do we go from here? Because we could go for the port of Livorno, or we could try to push further east to see if we can manage any more breakouts. Neither of these options seems to be particularly promising strategically, simply because both are too far for the Russian positions. We'll be planning the assault towards Livorno for now, and the plan here is not necessarily to create to break out vast into the Italian hinterland, but instead to bind enemy forces here and potentially relieve the eastern flanks somewhat, and see if that can pull enemy troops away from the eastern flank. That might break the deadlock on. Although it looks actually that they might be breaking through towards Pescara here, if we're not careful. So the other alternative is to redeploy east and see if we can make a difference. Yeah, the eastern front's actually looking weak now because a lot of troops are being pulled. So I think it is counterproductive for us to remain here, and instead we shall resume the attempts at Ancona, if just to secure the lines here. So let's redeploy there. We've got 8 papal divisions holding the territory now, so we don't need any further. Right, Pacific States, where we are reducing the last of the enemy resistance near New Orleans. Okay, the friendly militia have been beaten back, but I think we can join that assault. And Persia has accepted. So with that, we have now expanded the Moscow Accord, which has unfortunate implications for Egypt, because that means the Persians are now effectively at war. The Egyptians are now effectively at war with not just Persia, but suddenly with the backing of the Russian Empire. So we may have to we may send troops south potentially. We actually do have a few divisions here that we may be able to deploy that were previously positioned against the Ottoman Empire. So that's something we might be able to do. We have started building heavy self-propelled artillery, and we're not going to change the template anymore because we are working on an improved heavy tank chassis. But once we have these available in sufficient numbers, then these will become available to the Guards divisions as well. Right, we'll keep observing the situation in the Middle East and see if the Persians are going to ask for assistance. And that means Pacific States actually coming in focus now, where we are working trying to reduce the enemies south of New Orleans. With rebellion after rebellion, defeat after defeat, and various states seeking to carve out what they see as theirs from the Ottomans, Abdul-Mecid II has finally had enough and decided to end the Levant crisis, recognizing the reality of the situation. With it, new states have been born, opening up potential alliance opportunities with like-minded regimes in the region. So that's great. The problem obviously being we can invite now the Persians to the Moscow Economic Council as well. Oh, now this is where this is starting to come in. Okay, so that's good. Let's do that. The unfortunate situation is that the Egyptians have immediately declared war on Persia. So, but yeah, we will, for now, potentially, so it's the Cairo Pact, really, and the Moscow Accord locking horns here now. We'll see if they can sort out their differences. There seems to be very little fighting going on at this point. We'll see if they can sort out the differences or if the Persians are asking for assistance from Moscow itself. All right, Italian front, not very exciting. So let's go back over to the Pacific states and observe and see if we can start breaking out north from Jackson after defeating the militia attacks here. I think they have actually managed to encircle enemy forces already without our assistance. So not an awful lot for us to do here, short of just trying to. The problem is one of front lines here. We are going to need a wider front line. So we'll send the first over, and then we'll launch another assault. And here we are defending against militia attacks, but I think we can break north here with 2 tank divisions without too much trouble. So let's see if we can encircle the enemy. Do we have a yes, we should have the Baton Rouge airport now, so we can start moving the aircraft closer, which is great. Air war in China is still going vastly in our favor. And in Italy, how are we doing in Italy? We're basically on par here with losses, which means we can maintain the production to keep the losses going. All right, Persia has called us to arms, so that is actually going to be difficult, because that means if we are going to declare war on the Cairo Pact, our volunteers are going to move out. So we will lose the volunteers both in Italy and in the Pacific states, I believe, which. We'll see if we can hold back on that for a little bit while we make diplomatic deliberations and figure out where the heck we used that. That was for AA and for artillery. Okay, where are we at with this? Okay, I think I'm starting to understand how this works now. So these 4 at the bottom are actually unlocked because we made our way through the artillery tree. But the rapid upscaling can only come into full effect once we have all the other 3. So this is conversion speed, resource need, efficiency cap, which I'm probably going to take first, and then efficiency gain 40%. But even without the others, we would get 20% efficiency gain. So let's have a quick look. Because we may have to actually swap these relatively soon, because these are due. So we're going to get especially the AA. We might have to swap that relatively soon. So the efficiency gain would be quite nice, but I think I'm going to go for the cap first. Not really having a resource problem with this, and we're not using conversion massively yet, because I also haven't researched the conversion text. But 5% efficiency cap, I'll take it. And then we can unlock the other ones as we go. So that is very useful. All right, we're 2 states away from creating yet another encirclement. The big question is, can the Pacific states take the Union by themselves? I think they probably can. They have already broken the lines south of Richmond and encircled enemies in Norfolk. So I think they can do this, but it'd be useful for us to assist. The bigger problem I have is Italy. So if we are joining the Persians, our new allies, in the war against Egypt, then we are going to most likely lose the Egyptian the Italian volunteers, which means we'd have to leave it to the Papal States, which are notoriously averse to actually sending their troops into battle. So that would be, and the two Sicilies are very short on divisions, and the Germans are still here, but we would effectively leave Italy to its fate. And I think the Socialist Republic would probably break through, which would be an which would be a control expansion of the Third International into basically control of the Western Mediterranean, or let's be honest, all of the Mediterranean, really. Unless, because I don't see the Reichspakt or the Entente challenging them there. And while this would be a threat to the Reichspakt from the south, it would also be potentially causing us future problems by seeing an expanded Third International. That said, we have just signed an alliance with Persia, and we can hardly leave them to it. So we shall accept the call to arms from the Persians. Is that timing out? I don't actually know. All right, we'll delay the decision for bureaucratic means for a little bit, and then but then we will have to accept the call to arms from the Persians, which also is going to to remove the volunteers from the Chinese front, which means that China is probably going to collapse to Japanese naval invasions sooner rather than later. But we have done what we could, so I think it is going to be time to end our involvement in the foreign adventures, given that we now have responsibilities from our expanded alliance into the quagmire that is the Middle East.